Hello, my name is Olivia. Happy January. Welcome to the channel, and please don't forget to subscribe. Today I'm going to be talking through my top 10 favorite books of 2020. So if 2020 gave me nothing else, which it really didn't, it gave me time to rediscover my love of reading. I've always been such a huge reader, but as high school and college came around, and even now with like my job and everything, it was just there were so many other priorities over reading. But reading is just so important, and I'm so happy I had the time this year to just sit down and read. I literally read 61 books. It was such an accomplishment for me, probably like my one and only accomplishment of 2020. But my mom had gotten me a Kindle for my birthday, and it has been such an amazing gift. I just download books all day long. I have a backlog of them currently. I have a list on my phone of books that I want to read this year. So, you know, we already have a lot going on for this year, but let me get into my top 10 books of last year. I'm a big thrillers, mystery type of gal, so most of these fall into those categories, but I did put a few in that don't fall under thriller mystery, just in case you guys are into that. It's my favorite genre, but I also put in a memoir and maybe one or two other categories. But the first book is The Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell. This was actually the last book I read in 2020. I finished it right before the new year, so it just scraped by to make it into my top 10. I am such a huge Lisa Jewell fan. There is another book by her actually on this list, but Invisible Girl starts off with this young girl named Sapphire who has just been told by her therapist, Dr. Fours, that their sessions are going to be ending, that she is well adjusted enough to be done with therapy. She, however, does not want to lose Dr. Fours, starts following him to his neighborhood, watches him work, and kind of starts noticing that his perfect family isn't so perfect. He does some unsavory things that she sees and is not thrilled with, as well as encountering the Fours' neighbor, Owen, who is also kind of an unsavory guy. He has a past of being weird and creepy with younger girls and loses his job because of that. And between all of that, Sapphire eventually goes missing. Nobody's heard from her. Nobody knows where she is. And there's a few suspects there, some obvious ones, some not so obvious ones. Don't want to spoil too much, but it was a great story with a good twist at the end, and I would highly recommend. On the opposite side, The Playground by Jane Shemmels, I believe, was one of the first books I read in quarantine this past year. So that book, I will admit, it started out a little slow. It follows around three families who all become friends. They all have children like around the same age. And it's told from the point of view of the three wives. The chapters are broken up by each wife's perspective, but it does get really juicy. The parents just like don't really watch their children, and something tragic happens because of that, and there is just affairs, there is tragedy, there is just a lot happening. Once again, I feel like it's kind of hard to describe the book without spoiling any of the details, but it really was one of the best things I've read. It was, the next book is The Wives by Taryn Fisher. I made my mom read this book because it was so incredibly good that I just needed someone to talk to about it. It is about a woman named Thursday and her husband Seth, who has two other wives that she does know about, but she has never met, knows nothing about them, but is so head over heels in love with Seth that she just allows this to happen. Wouldn't happen in my house, but you do you, Thursday. So she is totally fine with this until one day she hears something about Seth that doesn't sit quite right. Chaos ensues. Won't spoil any more details, but definitely check it out. Okay, next up is the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, written by Stuart Turton. This book is kind of hard to follow at points. There are so many main characters that it can be a little confusing, but I think it's definitely worth any confusion. It's a murder mystery, which I already love. Any murder mystery book, movie, whatever, I'm in. Clue is my favorite board game. Like, sign me up for a good mystery, I am there. So this book is about Aidan Bishop, who is stuck at this castle, needs to figure out who killed Evelyn over 8 days in 8 different people's bodies. He just keeps reliving the same day as different people to try to put the clues together, and needs to discover her killer by the 8th day, or something very terrible is going to happen to both him and Evelyn. Like I said, it gets a little confusing at times, but it's so good I could not put it down. Okay, I got a memoir for you guys. Not a thriller this time, but The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls was so great. It was amazing. I feel like so many people read it in high school, and I just was never assigned that book, so I never read it. And I can't believe it took me this long because it was incredible. My synopsis doesn't sound that exciting, but it is pretty much about Jeanette and her dysfunctional family, who are pretty impoverished for most of their lives until she grows up and moves to New York away from her parents. It is just a very interesting journey into her life, and I would highly suggest it whether it's assigned to your high school or not. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I am such a big Gillian Flynn fan. This book, fantastic. I had actually seen the movie about 2 years ago, and it was incredible, and I knew I needed to read the book as well. I have also read Sharp Objects by her. What else has she written? There was another book that I read by her too. Can't remember right now. Also, there's an airplane going by. Gillian is just such an amazing author, and this book did not disappoint. It was even better than the movie. I'm sure you are all familiar with the plot line, but if you're not, it is about Amy and Nick, a seemingly happy couple. Amy goes missing, and Nick, he looks pretty sus. He's the top suspect because not only has he had violent daydreams that we learn about his wife, but she also has a diary that has some pretty sketchy entries in it surrounding her husband. So we go on this journey between Nick and Amy's diary to try to piece together what happened to Amy. My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing gave me major Gone Girl vibes, so we all know that I was very into it. So it also made the top 10 list. This is about a seemingly normal suburban family, mom, dad, 2 kids, the whole shebang. All seems very normal, but we discover that both of the parents have been involved in murders. So we start heading down that path. It becomes very much a psychological thriller. Once again, my continuous disclaimer, I don't want to give away too many details, but I would highly recommend. The Last Mrs Parish by Liv Constantine is the next book. I read it pretty early on into quarantine. Can you tell I was unemployed? I had a lot of free time on my hands. Liv Constantine writes amazing books. It's actually 2 sisters that make up the person Liv Constantine. She's an incredible writer. I would recommend anything that she writes. So this is about a woman named Amber who is after the lifestyle of the rich and the famous, and it just so happens that Daphne Parish the original Mrs. Parish, has everything she wants, has the money, the fame, the husband, the kid, has it all. So Amber befriends Daphne, becomes her closest confidant, snuggles up to Jackson, the husband, but gets worried that one of her secrets from her past is going to be revealed. She is simultaneously trying to keep that under wraps while schmoozing Jackson into maybe being with her instead of Daphne. It is another book that I just couldn't put down. I can't say enough about it. Just go check it out. The last book on my list is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I don't know, I'll put his name on the screen or her name to give them credit. I don't mean to mispronounce it, I apologize. But this book is about a woman who kills her husband and never speaks again. She is brought into a psychiatric ward where a doctor comes in, knows her story. That's why he's here. He wants to get her to talk. He wants her to feel comfortable enough with him to speak and kind of explain why she killed her husband and what the deal is now. She is a famous painter, so people were aware of her before, and this has only brought up the price of her artwork and kind of made her more infamous than she already was. So it's a very interesting read. Anything in like the psychiatrics I find very interesting as well. Although this book is also can be a little bit slow at the beginning. It is fantastic. If you power through the beginning, you'll definitely not want to put it down at the end. I could really just talk all day about all the different books that I've read this past year, but I don't want to bore y'all with any more details. I'm sure I have blabbed enough, but I hope that you will check out some of these books. If not all of them, they are all fantastic. I highly recommend, as I've said so many times. If you are into reading and you have any good book recommendations for me, please leave a comment down below. I would love to add some new books to my list because it seems as though I will have lots of time in 2021 to read as well. Just wanted to thank you guys for, again, watching this video, leaving your book recommendations, and just for supporting me. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you snuggle up with a good book, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.